As a white guy, I came factory installed with a love for Greek and Norse mythology. So today we're going to be taking a look at this Mythology CMF series that I made. We've got 5 Norse characters and 5 Greek ones to go over in this video, so let's get right into it. First up, I've made Thor, that I've loosely based on this artwork by Ingvar the Terrible. I decided to give Thor 2 capes, 1 green and 1 tan, just to make it look like he's got more layers, I don't know, kinda similar to in the artwork. It turned out looking really nice, but it does make him look like a half a head taller than a regular minifigure, so you could totally remove it if you'd like. Oh, and the slight gut that he's got from the torso that I gave him works pretty well too. Now, next up we've got Thor's father Odin, who I've given one of his ravens and the spear Gungnir to hold. Obviously he'd look a lot better with an eye patch face print, but I just don't have an appropriate minifigure head for that, so whatever. Alternatively, you could give him a hood to make him look like he's in one of his many disguises, trying to teach a lesson, or whatever Odin gets up to, I don't know. I think the dark colors that I've given him work pretty well, but giving him maybe a blue cape or a blue hood might look even better. Moving away from the Norse gods for a moment, let's now take a look at Poseidon. This hairpiece from the LEGO Hobbit sets almost works too well for him, to be honest with you. I just love how his face print and the hair match. I think it looks really nice. And if you're curious, I'm basing most of the Greek gods' appearances off of some statues that I found on the internet. I'll leave links in the description to all of the sources that I used today. There's some pretty cool stuff to look at there if you're interested. The legs that I used for him are a little questionable because they were originally a floral print from one of the Friends minifigures, but I think it kind of works here. The blue matches the cape that I gave him, and yeah, I don't know, I like how he looks. Also, obviously, the trident was a must. Next up, we've got the almighty Zeus, who I've given some white robes and a cape placed kind of strangely so that it looks more like a flowing robe. I don't have any skin tone torsos that would work here, so I tried my best to make a robe kind of look, I don't know. Also, I ended up using a regular LEGO Star Wars clone head, as I think the tan skin tone fits Zeus quite well. And of course, I had to give him a big, bushy white beard and some magnificent looking hair. Now, moving back to the Norse figs, here is a Valkyrie that I made. I used this really great looking hair and helmet mold that looks a lot like this piece of art from the same artist as earlier. She's also got a custom shield from Cult Bricks and a spear. Next up, I've made Loki, who again I'm basing off of this artwork by Ingvar. I think the dark orange color works really nice on him, and the runic prints on the legs match really well. I'm pretty happy with how he turned out, but since there's not any real concrete descriptions of Loki's appearance, we really don't have a lot to go on for a LEGO minifigure version. But I do think the orange colors and the kind of rune elements look pretty nice on him. Next up, I've made a couple of the lesser known Greek myths. First, Chiron the Centaur. He was known as a teacher to many of the characters within Greek mythology. I've given him a bow, which he is sometimes depicted with, sometimes not, and I tried to give him a solemn but wise looking face print. So I think the old Luke head from Star Wars works pretty well for this. Next, I've made the King Lycaon, who in some versions of his story was turned into the very first werewolf by Zeus. He was turned into a werewolf for the sin of offering up his son as a meal to the disguised god Zeus. It's a pretty dark story for a LEGO video, I guess, but I really liked it, so I wanted to make him into a minifigure. I based the LEGO fig off of this piece of art that I really like. The yellow and blue contrast nicely, and it really shows the king's wealth even after being turned into a monster. And for the final Greek minifigure, we've got Artemis, that I've based off of this statue that I found, which I actually believe is depicting a Roman goddess, but it's close enough. It looks a lot like the other Artemis statues anyways. I originally tried to use this Leia piece with a dark red torso combination, but it just didn't quite look right, so I ended up going with this one. It's definitely not perfect to what we see in the statue, but it's close enough for what I'm aiming for. And lastly, we have Freya, the Norse god of fertility. I wanted her to have a white dress, so I've used this one from Saruman, I believe, in Lord of the Rings, and I've also given her this fur-lined neck piece that I think works well for a Norse goddess. Unfortunately, it means that we can't use any of the long, dark orange hair pieces, so I've used this shorter one, which does the job decently enough. And it also matches well with the artwork I was basing this off of, so I think it looks nice. And that's all the figs I made for the CMF. This was a much shorter video than usual, but I still hope you enjoyed it all the same. I've got a big mock that I'm working on for a video coming very soon, so look out for that. And as always, thank you so much for watching.